This is Blown Deadline on Elite.
You arrive at the world-renowned Corona.
And the basic story here is we're trying to destroy, sabotage the factory.
The main temple has just closed its doors for the evening. You wonder why Kol Karan's high priest wants to meet with you after hours. An imposing man dressed in a noble's finery beckons you from the main courtyard. The high priest gestures to the east.
Take the sky coach at the end of
And
the
after we talked to, didn't register the first time for some reason, but once we talk to him, we'll have access to this sky coach.
And has selected you to deliver the killing blow against his new manufactory.
And now we're in the factory.
You arrive at your destination after a long flight through the forest of towers that comprises the Middle Memphis district. To your surprise, Von Sedura Warehouse is a drab and unremarkable structure. The entrance is unguarded, so you slip inside.
And this is going to be the way in, but we have to open it first.
In a moment of stunned silence, the guards scramble into action. Intruders! Activate the alarm spells! Hold down the entire tower!
Here's the lever that opens the way forward.
Pulling the ornate lever triggers a suspicious rumbling in the hall behind you.
And we're not really having to worry about it, but this could be... A lot of times I like to draw them back. As if you go in the room, there's going to be a bunch of guys below that want to attack you. In fact, I even like to get behind them and make sure they push back this way instead of the other way. Although right now this shouldn't really be too much of a problem for us. Get these. I always go for these guards first. So the toughest enemies in here are the guards, followed by the arcanists. Alright, the traps can be kind of annoying. It used to be you could take haste pots to get rid of slow type debuff, but at some point that stopped working. I'm not sure if that was intentional or just a side effect of something else they did. It's not a huge deal, but it was kind of nice that when you had like a 30-second slow to be able to just take a haste pot and get rid of it. And I'm pretty sure their bypass is going to be adamantine. That's the case for almost all constructs, although I'm not 100% sure, but based on everything else that I've seen, that's probably the case. And with the guards and arcanes, you can sometimes use these pillars to your advantage to kind of avoid with ranged arcanes, and then the guards, you can use these pillars to your advantage to avoid some damage if you're taking too much. Not currently a problem, but during heroic cleanup, it's kind of easy-ish, but that's sort of nice, kind of a nice break, if you will, just to do all this heroic cleanup, being a little bit overpowered. There's just so much of it. you want to get the 5,000 favor, you know, it's going to go into your epics, especially running normal, hard, and elite. If you're running on a group just elite, you'll probably run into the same problem as a first lifer, because you'll be getting some additional XP bonuses, and you'll get to 20 pretty quick, or you'll just be losing a lot of XP at heroic levels, which that's fine also. But I prefer this approach of finishing up all these heroics, since there's so many, at epic levels while I'm running some epic destiny XP and getting some of my epic benefits. Oh, that was some sort of fascinated, so that's a bard buff. The thing with fascination, though, is as soon as somebody attacks you, it's automatically removed. That's probably these spellbinders. That sounds like a bardish name. And I haven't had to use it very often, but I have this Harper pin, which would get me out of that fascinated state. But the nice thing about being fascinated is when they attack you, you're automatically removed from it. So it's one of the less dangerous things to happen. And there's a certain order to these, which I don't necessarily have memorized, but it's easy enough to figure out once you turn and can't turn, then you'll know that you've done the right ones.
Pulling the final lever causes the temperature in the room to flare up.
And you want to stay on this rail because the floor collapses, and it's just an unnecessary fight, you know. And I mean, you can climb up. I think you can avoid the fight, but you have to climb back up at a minimum. And I'm not sure what's behind that door. I'm sure I opened it probably the first time I ran it. I like to usually explore the dungeon, but once I find the fastest way, then I normally will just do that. And sometimes, years later, I find a faster way to do it than I realized was available. Alright, if we wanted to shrine, this would be a good time to shrine. I'm just going to pull the levers from left to right in this spot.
The machinery loudly grinds and squeaks.
And then I'll have to remember the order here.
Acrid smoke pours from the sabotaged equipment. Arcane lightning crackles through the grating as the device.
Alright, so
the last piece of equipment in the main manufacturing
get the hireling healed up.
Soon, the entire tower starts to quake.
It's actually more damage than I was realizing. Did my nope, I've got my energy resist, so I don't remember it being so much damage. I think it scales less on the legendary, and I've run this more on legendary than heroic. A lot of times I'll skip it on heroic because I just want to run it once on legendary.
Rupturous heat and concussive force tear through the building of the main manufacturing complex.
This is the end fight. It'll trigger it as you go forward a bit, and you want to use this terrain to your advantage, especially that hallway up above. If things get hairy, you can run back there.
My wonderful equipment! How could you destroy it like that?
There's the boss.
Who will pay for this travesty?
And when the boss gets to certain levels of damage, there'll be some enemies that spawn. And so I think that's kind of inspired by destroyer droids in Star Wars. It's actually, you don't want to be in the middle of that attack. It's pretty nasty when they do that roll. Alright, quick defense boost on this one. Getting a lot of kind of, you can see the kind of damage I'm taking even though being over the level. That's why I did the, get this guy. Avoid that roll. And again, if things get ever really too hairy, you want to run up this way. And you can fight this guy up here.
Damage to continue its assault.
Alright, this is actually a nice item after I was just saying I wasn't getting much here, but I could definitely use this. So the item I really wanted from here was some goggles. So I might think about, if I get a decent enough gear set, I might think about running this chain a few times to get those goggles. Those goggles will let you put a stat, I believe, wait, 2 stats maybe? Stat and a quality stat for sure on the item, so I'll have to double check it. So that's a very good goggles. Collective Sight, I believe it's called. Alright, I'm going to pause while I go to get the end reward.